Welcome to JXN Uncensored. We are here. We are live. We are in Jackson, Mississippi. Give me 1 second here. Let me get my share buttons working. How's everybody doing tonight? We have got a lot of stuff to talk about. It's like sometimes you just never know. You think, oh, it's going to be a slow news day. There's not going to be much to talk about tonight. Maybe we won't do a show. And then, stupid people post stupid things on the internet, on the worldwide intrawebs, and here we are. I'm looking at our video on the computer, and compared to what last night's looked like, it looks like we got in the DeLorean and went 88 miles an hour and jumped about 25 years into the future. Whew, man, sorry about last night looking so rough. Thank y'all for tuning in. It was still a well-viewed show, so much appreciated. Very much appreciated. Y'all know we gonna talk about Larison Campbell saying that all white people are running around here without masks on, spreading the woo flu to everybody, and trying to get the minorities the woo flu. You know, I'm gonna wait. I'm not gonna jump into that yet because I got a lot I want to say about that. A lot I'm gonna say about that. So stay tuned. Coming in hot. So real quick, let me talk about our great and amazing sponsors. This show would not be possible without our good friends over at USA Pawn. Still my cheat sheet here. Without our good friends over at USA Pawn with 6 metro area locations. If you are in the market for gold, jewelry, silver, flat screen TVs, used computers, game systems, purses. I'm talking about top flight security of the world type purses. I mean, Gucci and Louis Vuitton. That's the other one. It's actually Louis Vuitton that I took a picture of. I always say Gucci, but I mean Gucci in an omnipresent kind of way. To me, that's the most popular one in the world. But I know they actually have some Louis Vuitton. And Nick searches the world over for unique stuff. I hate to just compare one business to another. But if you ever watch Pawn Stars, how they have a bunch of really cool, unique stuff that you wouldn't necessarily associate with a pawn shop, USA Pawn is a lot like that. Mm-hmm. They have got a bunch of really cool, unique stuff at their locations. You can check it all out online at usapawn.com or check out one of their area locations, especially if you're in need guns and ammo. One of our good buddies, Gabe Young, bought did he say an AK-47?
I think that's what he said.
An AK-47 at USA Pawn here recently. So you can get the guns and ammo at the McDowell Road Megastore location. And look, if you've been trying to get ammo right now, you know here as we approach the election and all the crazy going on in the world, ammunition is as rare as diamonds and gold.
It's scarce.
It may be easier to get jewelry right now than it is ammunition. Actually, I know for a fact it is easier to get jewelry right now than it is ammunition. But look, McDowell Road, Woodrow Wilson, Ellis Avenue, Pearl, Canton, and Vicksburg. Check them out online at usapawn.com. The gym at Byram. I got my gym at Byram shirt on right now. My Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which is October.
It is.
So we're winding down to the home stretch of October here. So I wanted to make sure I wore my gym at Byram shirt, and I see the computer's kind of blocking it here, but just know, kind of raise up a little, let y'all see that. The gym at Byram. Check them out online, thegym@byram.com, and all of their social media outlets at thegym@byram. Locally owned, locally operated, 24/7 access, swimming pool, even though I'm sure it's winding down if it hadn't already, tennis courts, indoor basketball, female fitness facility, personal trainers, tanning beds, world-class weight and cardio equipment, sauna, showers, gym, locker rooms, the whole 9 yards. They're waiving their joining fee this month, and if you buy a workout plan with a personal trainer, you're going to get 2 additional workouts for free. And I'm telling you, I'm seriously thinking about here the first of the month, even though I know how to work out and I know what I'm doing, but sometimes we all lack that motivation to do it. Sometimes we need somebody kind of kicking us in the butt a little to kind of hold us accountable. I'm seriously thinking about getting a personal trainer over there for about 6 to 12 weeks here to the first of the year and let them beat me up every morning. So that may be a new video series coming your way called The Rebuilding of Clay Edwards. And then last but not least, the Gym at Byram, give them a call at 601-372-2229 to set up an appointment, or just drop in on them, tell them Save Jackson sent you. You can also take a virtual tour on their website at thegym@byram.com. All right, look, last but not least, father and son, Southern Lawncare, our good friend Danny White. He's probably watching right now. He'll be glad to know I said the name right without the A in it. If you're in the Tri-County area, especially in the suburbs, and you need somebody to come take care of your yard and do anything just about, give them a call, 601-301-3210. Also, I tagged all these people in the comments here or in the description, so you can click on their Facebook links and go straight to their social media. Father and son, Southern Lawncare, or father and son, Southern Lawncare, 601-301-3210. On with the show. It was a good day today. So this morning, a girl that I've known for 20 some odd years sent me a picture out of the blue that I did not even know existed. It was a picture from 20 years ago of me and a couple of my good friends standing out in front of Buffalo Chips on the Reservoir, which ended up being Smith Marine right next to Shuckers. You know, you would think that a picture 20 years old, you're like, I don't even know if I want to see that. It probably didn't age well. Surprisingly, it did. I was like, wow, you know, that it is not nearly as dated as one would think. It was me, a buddy of mine, Chris, rest in peace. He got killed in a car wreck a couple years ago, about 10 years ago. My buddy Buster, he was actually came down from Arkansas, lives up there now, came down for our wedding.
Right.
And my good friend VJ or V or Marvell, whatever name he chooses to go by. And we're just chilling out there. It's daylight in front of a club. And one of the things that I found funny was there's a marquee there where you put the upcoming events on. And it had the Vanilla Ice concert that we brought. And when Chip Matthews booked that show out there, everybody was like, oh my God, you're bringing Vanilla Ice to town? Man, look. We did 2,500 people in a building that probably holds 500, and that's 500 is being polite. Mm-hmm. And it was one of the coolest concerts in the history of this town, and people still talk about it to this day.
Well, there you go.
So, super cool photo. So, long story short, I haven't seen V in a while. Mm-hmm. I texted to V. I texted to Buster. Buster, I guess, was busy working or something. He didn't get back with me till the afternoon. Of course, he lives in Arkansas now. Well, before I could even get out of the driveway today, V texts me back. And I'm thinking he's still in Arizona. Well, he's done moved back to Mississippi. And I get all the way out to the Renaissance. I'm just riding around on my day off, looking for somewhere to eat, something to do. He's like, hey, are you at work? I'm like, no. He's like, well, crap, I just pulled up here. I was like, you're in town? He's like, yeah. I was like, well, meet me at Martin's. Let's eat lunch at Martin's. Mm-hmm. So meets me down there. We probably sat there for 2 hours eating. One of my old friends, Danny Vercher, was our waitress. Danny, if you're watching, hey. And, man, just great. Martin's, they're not a sponsor of this show, but they can be. Hey. Great plate lunch. If you were, really just great food, period. It doesn't necessarily mean not just at lunch, but if you're at lunchtime, if you're looking for somewhere in the central Hinds County area, downtown, to eat, check out Martin's. I had the country fried steak and mashed potatoes, and y'all know I love food. I could only eat about half of it. It was that much food. I don't know how high or how hungry you have to be to eat all that, but it is well worth the money. Great service, super clean. Everybody's spaced apart. There's enough room to space everybody apart. If you're worried about the whole social distance stuff, they have some kind of air conditioning, recirculation type stuff in there where it completely pulls the air out of the building and pumps new air in it constantly. So it should be a lot safer than your average old building in downtown Jackson.
Right.
It was some kind of high-end air recirculation or fresh air unit or something. I don't know a whole lot about that stuff, but Martin's has it. So check them out. Martin's Downtown JXN.com or Martin's Downtown on Facebook. You'll see it.
Somebody asked, did we post to Spotify or Apple Podcasts?
Yeah. Okay, so the nightly show, somebody asked if we post to Spotify, Apple, and whatnot. So the nightly show that you're listening to right now is exclusive to Facebook and YouTube. We stream live on Facebook, then I upload it to YouTube. It will eventually stream live simultaneously like it did last night when I get a high-end camera. Right now, I do this from my iPad, so I can only send it to one place because it won't work as a webcam. So the podcast, which we will record tomorrow night, it airs live on WYAB 103.9 FM. I say airs live, but it airs over the radio every Saturday morning at 11. Then it goes live to the podcast, and it is available across every podcast platform available. Spotify, Apple, Google, Stitcher, Amazon, everything, Podbean. And I try to share multiple links throughout the week of different platforms. So, yeah, we are on there. And at some point I will get this where I can also record simultaneously as a audio only, and I can release as a podcast. Yeah. But right now, using the iPad instead of a camera, I just don't have those capabilities because I'm having to run my mic to the iPad instead of through the computer. So when we get a when we can afford $800, $900, $1,000 on a good camera, we will we'll be able to do a lot more stuff. But right now, this is where we're at. And hey, look, no complaints. It's given us an opportunity to grow slowly without over-investing into this thing more than we already have. So thank you for asking that, because we do put a lot of work into that. Also, Crystal is here to my left. Crystal is not just a huge fan of being on camera. As beautiful as she is, she's just like, I don't want to be on camera. You learn, happy wife, happy life. If Crystal doesn't want to be on camera, I will be on camera. She does not have to be. I have the burning bush in place of Crystal. I ought to put a microphone. In front of the bush. All right, look. Let's jump into the chaos and the story that we shared late this afternoon. A reporter here in Mississippi decided to go full white liberal on us because she is a white liberal. And I want to make sure, I don't normally like to give these people's names out, but we're going to do that in this case. Larison Campbell. Larison writes for the Daily Beast, and she's an independent writer, so she writes for multiple people, Mississippi Today, and some other stuff. Larison wrote an article, quote, maskless white people are fueling a massive new coronavirus surge in Mississippi. And of course, she has a picture of the fair with some white people without their mask and of course some black people with their mask. I'm going to read some of the article here. I've shared the link on our Facebook page. If y'all want to read it, you can go read the whole thing, but I'm going to hit a couple of the highlights here. Wayne Moak isn't sure who brought the coronavirus into the congregation at Clear Branch Baptist Church in rural Wesson, Mississippi. But when it got there in late September, it spread fast, he told the Daily Beast. Within weeks, more than 24 members of the congregation were sick, including Moak, his wife, son, and all three other staff members. All three other staff members, he recalled. Of course, this was exactly the scenario he'd been hoping to avoid when the church decided in the early days of the pandemic to set up his pulpit on the bed of a 20-foot trailer and conduct parking lot services. But the arrangement was short-lived. By June, with businesses around the state reopening and midday temperatures cracking 90 degrees, the decision to go toward air conditioning was met with little controversy. Videos of these services posted weekly to Facebook show parishioners in the first rows singing shoulder to shoulder, masks were not required, and few people, including Moak, appeared to take them upon himself to wear them. Look, I'm one of those who wears mine the least I can. The way things were, it wasn't something we thought was necessary, he told the Daily Beast. The coronavirus raged through Mississippi cities and its poor, predominantly black counties. First off, Mississippi has a lot of predominantly white poor counties as well. Anyway, this summer, eventually pushing the state to the highest rate per capita infections and deaths in the country. But Moak said that in Wesson, which is predominantly white Lincoln County, we weren't seeing it so much. That equilibrium has shifted dramatically in the last month. The same week that Clear Branch had its outbreak, at least 24 students and teachers at local public schools in Wesson Attendance Center tested positive. By mid-October, more than 150 students and teachers would end up in quarantine. A few minutes down the road in Brookhaven, a similar scenario played out as outbreaks in the elementary and high schools there sent more than 100 students and teachers into quarantine. It's just in our community right now. I wish I could see where it's coming from, but I don't have the magic wand, Moak said. Okay, let me back up a little bit. When they talk about 100 students and teachers in quarantine, that's quarantine. That's at your house chilling. That is not the ER. That is not in the hospital. That is just, hey, I may have bumped into somebody that had COVID, so I have to sit my butt at home. So let's be clear about that. They love to use these big words.
Miss Deborah said, my son, 16, just died of vape juice called Geek that boys got from froghead.org. Let kids know how deadly it is. It might save a life.
All right. Miss Deborah, I'm going to read your message here in just a second. We have already, I'm going to finish this article. We have had some really pretty good uptake. Good Lord, this is butchering these sentences. Let me start over here. We have had really pretty good uptake by a lot of folks in black community when masking and social distancing, Dobbs said on a call with reporters last week. Gosh damn, that's butchering the English language. I had to read it 3 times just to understand what... I still don't even know what I just read. I'm dumbfounded. Y'all got to give me a second. I can't believe that our state doctor butchers the language that bad. So bad that when you read it, it knocks my equilibrium off. All right, let me backtrack a little bit here. But health experts think they do know white people who refuse to wear masks is the cause of, and mind you, this says but health experts think they do know. It doesn't tell you who said health experts are, which most of these articles don't. So white people who refuse to wear masks. After 2 months of steady declines, a second coronavirus wave is rising in Mississippi. On Friday, the state recorded 1,322 new infections, its highest single-day number since August. But the face of the pandemic in the state has shifted dramatically in that time. Mississippi, once a case study for how the coronavirus disproportionately sickens black people in this country, is seeing its second wave driven by white Mississippians in rural parts of the state. The reason, according to Dr. Thomas Dobbs, the top health officer in Mississippi, is simple. Rural white communities aren't taking the necessary precautions to avoid spreading the virus. We have had really pretty good uptake by a lot of folks in black community with masking and social distancing. He sounds like Hillary Clinton talking about pulling hot sauce out of a purse in that sentence. Dobbs said on a call with reporters last week, quote, and I just want to say, I think big parts of white community, especially in areas that maybe weren't as hard affected this summer, have not been as compliant or engaged actively with social distance. You know what? I quit. I can't read this anymore.
Okay, well, in the beginning, they told black people that it did not affect them.
Yeah. So yeah, in the beginning, black people were told black people were told that they were immune to the coronavirus. Then Idris Elba, I believe, was the first famous black person to get it, and like people were like, "Oh crap, a comic book character got it. I should look into it." Then Tom Hanks got it. I bet he wishes he was still. I bet he wishes he was still on that island.
He's not black, but they were literally saying like it wasn't.
Yeah. So they went from black people couldn't get it to now the virus is racist and it predominantly likes black people. To it does not affect black people at George Floyd rallies. You know, to now, and just ask Dr. Turner here locally, he'll tell you that black people are absolutely predisposed to the coronavirus, and he has the cure. None of his patients have passed away. Well, he will be very disappointed to know that on October 9th, death among white Mississippians surpassed those of black Mississippians for the first time since the Mississippi State Department of Health publicly made racial data available in June. And the trend is likely to get worse. Between September 16th and 14th, new coronavirus infections among white Mississippians rose 26.8%. More than double the 12.6% rate increase among black Mississippians. As of Monday, the number of white and black Mississippians diagnosed with the coronavirus was almost equal. In early July, the numbers of black Mississippians with the virus had been double that of whites. So that goes back to what I've been saying since the beginning of all this. This virus does not give two damns if you're white or black. If It does. This virus does not like unhealthy people.
It affects unhealthy people.
Yes, Crystal says it affects unhealthy people worse. Anybody can get it. I just think that white people were less likely to run and go get tested. I have no doubt that this virus equally affects black and white people as far as positivity rates. I just think that white people are able to look at the data because it's not as politicized to white conservatives in Mississippi. I want to be sure I clarify that. White conservatives in Mississippi are not as likely to get scared by it and run out and get tested. I don't care if I have it. If I get a sniffle, I'm not going to run and go, test me for the COVID. You know, I don't care. You're not going to make me a statistic. I refuse. Now, if I just get so sick that they have to say, hey, Clay, we're testing you and you got the COVID, and I have to eat every word I've spoken, then so be it. I will eat every word I've spoken. But until that day, I refuse to be a statistic.
It doesn't mean that
it's not a death sentence.
wrong. I
Yeah.
People get the flu, they get colds, they get sinus infections.
Yep. And the rubber's about to hit the road too, because we're rolling into flu season.
Yeah, and kids and people die from it every year.
Does anybody know anybody that's had the flu since March? Or did the flu go away?
I haven't even talked to anybody since March.
Is COVID the cure for the flu?
Apparently.
Does COVID kill the flu, then give you COVID?
Probably.
I know that's maybe one of the dumbest things that have ever come out of my mouth. And I'm being facetious, but seriously, let's be real here, folks. Come on. This disease has nothing to do, or not disease, virus. This virus has nothing to do with race. It's going to affect a state like Mississippi that per capita has the most obesities and overweight people and diabetes and unhealthy people in the country. We got the best food in the country. We also got the fattest people in the country. And that is not an insult. I'm telling you, this is a 300-pound dude.
They have a hard time fighting off.
Our immune system's with the weight. And if you have diabetes or any of that stuff, and if you're overweight, you're going to have cardiovascular issues. And these are things that disease or that virus clings onto. It has nothing to do with your race. It does not know the difference in black, white, Indian. If that was the case, why does it not like Chinese people either? I mean, it's nothing to do with race. It has to do with being human, and the condition that in your health. The healthier you are, the better off you are. Sure. Is there the occasional magic bullet where it takes out a healthy person? Absolutely. There were
probably underlying issues that people didn't know about.
Yeah, I think that's something very interesting that you bring up there is I wonder how many people are finding out about underlying health conditions that they did not know they had because they got COVID and had to have this battery of tests because they got sick. Like, oh, did you know, by the way, you're diabetic, you had a blockage, you're this, you're that,
Issues.
Yeah, so in a way, it may have saved some lives too.
Yeah. It has also, though, taken some. And some of those people are people that are scared to go to the doctor because they don't want to be exposed to COVID. Which I feel awful about. Like, instead of going to the doctor and getting seen and checked on, they won't go because they're scared.
Yeah, look, I don't like...
And it has nothing, they're not passing away from COVID, but they are passing away from COVID.
Well, it's the difference in morbidities and comorbidities. There's people who are passing away with COVID, but the COVID is not the cause of death. And that's going into the number as a COVID death. So I could have a heart attack.
I've seen 2 people that had chest pains that wouldn't go to the hospital because of, what's going on. And one of them did pass away.
Yep. So, like I'm saying, I could have a heart attack right now and die. And they could come back and do my blood work and everything and say, okay, Clay had also happened to be COVID positive, but he had a heart attack. And I know damn well if I have a heart attack and die right now, it's because of all the fried chicken and beer and the unhealthy living that I've been doing. It has nothing to do with COVID. I could just happen to be COVID positive. All I can think about is that preacher blowing COVID away.
Well, I'm talking about people that are COVID negative.
Yeah.
That are passing away because they don't want to go to the doctor.
Oh yeah, okay. So what Crystal's talking about are people who are just scared to go to the hospital because of the fear of getting COVID at the hospital, and they're passing away from their symptoms. Look, there's a lot of people like that. You hear about people who are not getting the pap smears and the tests and stuff they need for other cancers and this, that, and the other, who are avoiding going to the doctors and hospitals. Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with COVID except they don't want to be exposed.
Yep.
But they're suffering because of it.
Absolutely. All right, so let's bring this back to it being white people's fault.
Okay.
I like this path here. I like that a white liberal decided to bring this up. Because and the fact that she used a picture of the state fair to describe stuff going on in rural Mississippi when the state fair is right here in Jackson. Because it gives us the opportunity to bring up this conversation. Because this is a conversation that we've probably, white and black, have all had privately with our families. You can go anywhere and you can see who's wearing masks and who's not. I don't think I'm breaking any news to y'all here. More black people are wearing masks around here than white people. Right. It just is what it is, and I believe it's more political than anything, but to each their own. So let me finish up this article here real quick, and we're going to move on. So here in Mississippi, we've seen this movie before. We know what can happen if we allow this to get out of control, so we want to be proactive to prevent this from happening, Reeves said. Still limited in scope to the mandate, it's likely to have some blind spots, especially because one of the mandate's triggers is a high number of cases, and many of the smaller counties where cases rising rapidly can't meet that threshold. Lincoln County, which includes Wesson, Brookhaven, and which has seen cases rise 13% in 2 weeks. The fifth highest increase in the state was not the new mask mandate list. Was not on the new mask mandate list, nor was Benton County, another rural area where cases have risen 15% in the last 2 weeks. Epidemiologists point out that the increased cases among white Mississippians are still likely to spell disaster for black residents who tend to be at a higher risk of complications from the virus. Now, those complications would be... why? What are the complications? Is it overweight, obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular? Has nothing to do with the fact that they're black. It has to do with that they're Mississippian.
Well, there's plenty of fat white people.
I know. That's what I'm saying. There's plenty of fat white people. This is ridiculous. This is one of the more racist articles I've ever read in my life. And of course, it's by a white liberal. Who want to paint black people as unfortunate, downtrodden, and unhealthy. And it's just disgusting. So this same lady, I spent the last hour prepping for this show, and I was just curious if she had the same energy about public gatherings concerning the George Floyd stuff. She did not. Not a single article that I could find written about the dangers of protesting in the times of COVID. Not a single article. But this is also the lady who stirred up the whole Robert Foster controversy with him when he was running for governor, and did not want a female that was not his wife riding in the vehicle with him.
Which you agree with.
Which I absolutely agree with. If it was the other way around, me and Crystal talked about this, if Crystal was running for governor and a man from, some Looney Tune liberal male was wanting to ride in the car with my wife for 15 hours without me, I'd have a problem with it. Not that I don't trust my wife. I just don't necessarily.
You just don't like it.
I don't like it, and vice versa. If I was a reporter and there was another female that I did not know running for governor and I wanted to ride in the car with her for 15 hours, two things. I would be concerned about what my wife thought about that. And if that lady said, no, I'm sorry, my husband would not appreciate that, I would 100% completely agree with it. Not this lady. Her and her editor said it was sexist and everything else. So if they weren't all white, I'm sure that one of them would have said it was racist. But they were all white, so they couldn't claim racism. But I know she wanted to. I feel pretty confident in my heart of hearts that in her mind it was still something to do with race. Like maybe Foster didn't know she was white. Anyway, I digress. People are bat crap crazy. They use these clickbait headlines. I mean, we've given her more publicity than she ever deserved, but it was so outlandish, and it just given everything going on in this state, in this country, why divide us anymore with stupid ass headlines like that? You know, it was clickbait. The article and the headline didn't line up to the photo of the state fair. None of that. The dates didn't line up. The fair started 2 weeks ago. We had a spike late last week, and I would like to know where that number came from. I guess I could go look and see where the spike came from, but I guarantee it was not from Hinds County and the fair, because the deaths in Hinds County haven't changed. But this weekend, Saturday and Sunday combined, 586 cases, 0 deaths. So we can talk about who's getting COVID, who's COVID positive, whatever. They never tell you who's asymptomatic and how many recoveries, because that number is not nearly as grotesque. 99.6%, 99.7%, depending on the age,
99 point something.
More, she talked about kids in high school having to quarantine. Not that they were COVID positive, but having to quarantine. The entire state of Mississippi has had one death of somebody under 18 from COVID. More than two children in the city of Jackson alone, under the age of 11, have been murdered in gunfire drive-bys this year. So keep it in check what the real danger is in this state. So transitioning from that into this. CJ LeMasters over at WLBT put together a great bit of data. I don't know if I want to call it a story, but it's a very depressing analysis on the homicide rate ranks. Depressing analysis. CJ, I love you, but good Lord, you're like a depressing movie. You're great at your job, and I guess that's what the news is supposed to be. Mississippi's homicide rate ranks highest in the nation. The state has had 447 murders in 2020. 25%, roughly, or 106 of those murders were in Jackson alone. So that leaves 341 murders throughout the rest of the state, which actually is a lot higher than I would have anticipated. Because I've been mumbling for months now that I would bet that the rest of the state didn't have as many murders as Jackson did combined. So I was wrong there. But obviously Jackson has got the highest rate. So here's a number that should scare you all to death. That is one murder every 15 hours in the state of Mississippi for 2020.
Thomas Korn said more kids kill themselves in Mississippi because of bullying than they die of COVID-19. Why is this not talked about?
Yeah, I mean, look, bullying and suicide in the state is very... I don't know if y'all can hear Crystal over there, but one of our friends, Thomas Korn, said more kids are kill themselves in Mississippi from bullying and suicides than are dying from COVID. And my answer to that is yeah. Like I said, if we're just calling kids people under 18, which I know that kids is obviously a wide range there. It does not necessarily mean people just under 18. My daughter's 18, and I consider her a kid. But yeah, one death in the entire state under the age of 18.
I think he's trying to point out that everybody's so wrapped up in COVID and not.
Yeah. That's something I know. Everybody is so wrapped up in COVID that we're sticking our head in the sand and pretending that other things can't possibly happen until they do. And that's a big problem. So So on this story from CJ concerning the murder rate, I'm going to read it real quick. It's short. Mississippi's homicide rate outpaces every other state in the U.S. according to analysis of data from the state's crime lab and the most recent yearly compilations of data on killing from the National Center for Health Statistics. The Magnolia State has a rate of 15 per 100,000 people, higher than its neighbors in Louisiana, 13.3, and Alabama, 12.2. While those rates for other states are from 2018 and represents a full year, they are the most recent numbers available for comparison. Since 2020 began, 447 people have been killed in Mississippi, an average of one person every 15 hours. Nearly 1/4 of the state's homicides took place in Jackson. Jackson residents Shanikia Green knows that all too well. Her son Tremaine and half-brother Walter were both gunned down just a few weeks apart. Quote, a child is different than burying your mother, your father, your cousin like that. When you bury a child, you lose a piece of your heart and your soul. You can't get that back, Green said. I know it's been 3 months and people figure I'm supposed to be over it, but in reality, I'm never going to be over it. With that said, I don't know who thinks that she should be over it. Shame on them. You should never be over losing a child. Green said, from her perspective, the senseless killings are from people who do not know how to resolve their differences any other way, particularly young people. You know, we talk about conflict resolution all the time, or lack thereof. It is a major problem here. So I just wanted to mention that. This whole state is going to hell in a handbasket. You know, and I'm gonna guess people are gonna get mad at me when I say this. I would love to have seen the breakdown of where all those murders were actually at, and I guarantee it's predominantly Democrat-led cities in this state, throughout the Delta, East Mississippi, Jackson, obviously, Vicksburg, Democrat cities. I would like to know how many murders actually happened in Republican majority cities. When I say Republican majority, I'm referring to the leadership, not just the voting base. It comes down to law enforcement, poverty. There's a lot of things that go into it, but I would like to know where all the numbers actually fall in detail. I'd like to see that. So something, a text that came through, or a comment that came through a little back, I wanted to read, because anytime somebody loses a child and they want to comment about it, I want to make sure I comment. I read their comment. Deborah Brassel, one of our top fans, says, my son, 16, just died of a vape juice called Geek that boys got from frogheadz.org. Let kids know it's deadly, and in schools, maybe it might save some lives. You know, Deborah, I'm going to screenshot that real quick. I got that saved. I'm going to make sure we get that out there. Our condolences and prayers to you and your family. And we will definitely share that to our page as soon as we get off here. That's terrible. Terrible. All right. It's hard to transition from that. You know, anytime we talk about somebody losing a child. But let's see if we can. So another story. If y'all have heard me bitch about one thing, you've heard me bitch about this thing 100 times. And it is this city wasting money on consulting firms. I don't need a consulting firm to tell me that Jackson is effed up. WLBT reports Jackson to spend $2 million on sewer consulting and damage assessment. I know that when floods happen, you have to get damage assessment. I get it. But shouldn't there be, shouldn't that fall on the Corps of Engineers somehow, some way, the state? With all the engineers that Mississippi employs, with all the engineers we shoot out of Mississippi State, should this city be having to pay a firm $2 million to tell us that our sewers screwed to hell and back? Quick story here. It's only a couple sentences long. another $2 million in city funds are going to address Jackson's sewer issues. Except these $2 million aren't actually going to fixing a damn thing. Recently, the city council approved several contracts related to consent program management and the city's consent decree renegotiation efforts. Additional monies were spent to bring on an engineering firm to help determine how much damage was caused to the West Bank interceptor during the February Pearl River flooding. The latter contract is for $42,575 and was awarded to Southern Consultants to conduct a damage assessment of the West Bank line, which runs alongside the west bank of the Pearl River. The line is one of Jackson's major sewer mains, which carries wastewater from neighborhoods in northeast Jackson, Fondren, Belhaven to the Savannah Street wastewater treatment plant. Southern is expected to begin work in late October, Acting Public Works Director Charles Williams said. He said the sewer main was damaged during the Pearl River flood when it was inundated by high river waters. You can check out that story on WLBT.com, and I'm going to link all these stories in here when we get done. Another $2 million going to, I'm sure somebody, if you dig up and do the research, and I'm going to say this, allegedly, you'll probably find that somebody involved in the mayor's office or city hall knows somebody or is a fraternity brother with somebody at this consulting firm. We piss off more money with consulting firms. I'm telling you, follow the consulting firm money, Shad White, and you will find the fraud in the city. It's a damn shame the money we spend on consulting firms. They spent money on a consulting firm to tell them the zoo needed a consultant or a management company. I mean, get on Google and type in successful zoo running companies. Oh, those guys do pretty good. Let's call them. Mm-hmm. Money saved. I'd have done it for $100. All right. A couple quick hits here. The old Rapids Water Park. Crystal, did you ever go to Rapids?
Of course.
Did you have a good time out there?
Mm-hmm.
The old Rapids water park land right there on the reservoir across from where Shaggy's and all that is now, mm-hmm. which I've personally considered probably one of the most valuable pieces of real estate. Yeah, one of the most valuable pieces of real estate in the Tri-County area, given its proximity to per capita income, and per house income there, the water, the spillway, the reservoir, just the whole 9 yards. They are putting it's a private company coming in and opening up a major sports complex. Let me read it's a real quick story here. P360 Performance Sports purchased a spot along the Ross Barnett Reservoir to open up a new baseball academy. The land on Spillway Road is the former Rapids on the Reservoir Water Park. Rapids closed in 2008 after 25 years. P360 plans to open up a new headquarters with a baseball academy and training center and an 8-court volleyball center that they expect to draw high school and youth baseball players from across the Southeast. Here's a quote from the new owners. "We are blessed and excited to bring this sports development on the reservoir," P360 founder Chris Snowpick said. "Our coaches and employees look forward to the opportunity to serve the Tri-County area baseball and sports family while positively impacting tomorrow's youth for the kingdom." So it sounds like it's faith-based, which I'm all in on. And stuff like that seems to do really well. I know there's a D1 training facility out there in Madison, and I'm guessing this is the same kind of concept, somewhere for folks to work out and, specifically train at the high school level to move forward to college with baseball, volleyball, and whatnot, which are huge here in Mississippi. Yeah. All right. I think I've got one more story, and then we're going to jump into the comments. Okay. I see Crystal. She's picked her phone up a dozen times, reading comments. I know she's ready.
There's about 1 million.
Good. The more the better. Mississippi joins lawsuit against Google. Claims it is a monopoly gatekeeper. Look, I'm not going to read this whole story here. I'm not going to read any of it. long time coming. These conservative attorney generals in states like Mississippi should be given big tech hell. Big tech is doing all they can to censor conservative voices. It's not even a doubt that Hunter Biden is a crackhead, smoking crack and doing all kind of things. That story is real, and they have done all they can to censor that. Facebook will not even allow you to send a link of that story in a private message. So with that said, tell me they're not reading your private messages. If they can read the fact that you're sending a link or attempting to send a link about a story they don't like, imagine everything else they're reading. You know, one day somebody's going to crack it like they did the Ashley Madison stuff, and they're going to pick a keyword that they don't like. Let's just say it's the N-word. For instance, I'm just making an example here. Let's just say that somebody in big tech gets mad and says, I want to unleash the names and profiles of anybody who's ever said the N-word in a private message. They have the ability to do that. And if you're white, you are screwed. You know? I mean, and I'm just using that as an example because that's the trigger word, you know, that that we know that nobody should ever say. And I believe that goes for anybody. You know, white or black or any other race for that matter. But that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But just know that big tech is admitting to reading your messages. You know, all their data has to do is they pick up keywords. They saw something in that link, in that metadata, that said Joe Hunter Biden laptop, whatever combination of words, and they've decided that that's unacceptable. Well, what if they just decide that anything is unacceptable that you've ever said? It doesn't have to be something as dramatic as the N-word. It can be any combination of words, word soup.
What is about, child porn?
So Crystal's asking about the child porn stuff on the Hunter Biden laptop, and that is unconfirmed right now, but it is highly anticipated that it is going to come out. Well, let me rephrase that. When I say anticipated, I don't think nobody's looking forward to it. Right. It's highly assumed that there's some very nasty child porn stuff on Hunter Biden's laptop where he is actually the star in the film. Or co-star, however you want to look at that. But we don't like to speculate too much here, so we will wait till that comes out. I fully anticipate it coming out probably Thursday, the day of the next debate. And if anybody wants to take a bet right now, I say the next debate does not have. There's no way Joe Biden does the next debate. He's gone into hiding already since his laptop thing come out. There's no way that he puts himself in front of a camera with Trump and an open mic. That's where they're talking about muting them and this and that. I mean,
how about can you mute the commentator?
Yeah,
asking him questions that keeps interrupting Trump.
Speaking of that, do you know that the commentator on the town hall with Trump the other night interrupted him 62 or 63 times?
Can we mute them?
Can we get a conservative commentator for just one of these presidential debates moving forward?
Just one.
How do you have three debates and they hadn't had but one, but there were supposed to be three, and all three are bat crap crazy liberals? Can a conservative not get one? Can Tucker we would settle for somebody in the middle like Joe Rogan, you know. Can we not get somebody legitimately in the middle or right wing to do just one of them? A Hannity? You know, how would they feel if Hannity or Tucker rolled up there and started drilling Joe Biden like these liberals do Trump?
Asking him about the laptop
Asking about laptop and Russia and you ain't black if you don't vote for me, and just all the crazy nonsense that's come out of his mouth.
I'm pretty sure he has dementia.
How has he never made more than $200,000 in a year and he's worth over $100 million. I mean, I'm just saying. And that ain't just Democrats there. That's Republicans and Democrats. Me and my friend Marvell had a long talk about politicians becoming 100 millionaires, never making more than a couple $100,000 a year, which I would love to make a couple $100,000 in a year. So it's a little quick math here. To make $200,000 in a year, you would have to make almost right at $4,000 a week. So I don't know about y'all, but I could make $4,000 a week work. There's a point where you pivot. There's a point where you pivot ahead that if you're living within your means, you can't outspend $4,000 a week. You're gonna end up with some money in savings. Yeah, theoretically.
You should.
All right. Look, let me get to these comments here, man. I appreciate y'all letting me read the news, and these are the stories that I thought you guys might enjoy. Let me backtrack here to my home screen and get these comments up. So if you have anything you really want to hit on, kind of hit the reset button on comments. It's kind of start coming at me now. Christy sends a link here and asks, have we heard about this? I'm going to click on it real quick. It's from PJ Media, and look, I'll be honest, they are not a NewsGuard website, so everything they post is not true. But this is. The Toobin Zoom call is even worse than we thought. The Toobin dude, Jeffrey Toobin, the CNN contributor, who was but y'all know it. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what he was doing. He was giving himself a 5-finger discount. We'll just say that on a Zoom call. But anyway, y'all can click on the link that she posted there and read it. Pretty nasty. Pretty nasty. And you know, there's a story about him actually having cheated on his wife with another girl, got her pregnant and made her have an abortion, or tried to make her have an abortion. And he is married with the kid, and his allegedly his wife and kid were at home while he was giving himself the 5-finger discount on the Zoom call with CNN. So this is one of Trump's biggest anti-Trump guys. All right, let's get back to local stuff here. Y'all can get good national news from everywhere else. I have my opinions. Y'all know where I stand on stuff. Danny White asked, Clay, have any ideas on how to fix the water issue? So that's a can of worms. I mean,
it's gonna be a huge ordeal.
You know, I always go back. I say I always. The last 2 months, I go back to what Fred Shanks said to me when I asked him, how would you fix Jackson if you were in charge today? And he said, you just got to pick a street and start. You know, brick by brick, house by house, street by street, block by block. And I believe that's what you're going to have to do with the water thing. You know, you're going to have to pick your worst areas. Replace your repeat offenders first. Don't waste $2 million on a consulting firm. You know,
we know what's wrong.
Yeah, I mean they have the ability of a pressure test and all that to know where the problems are at. Let's start there. Let's start with the blatant problems, the repeat offenders, the constant causers of boil water notices. Let's rip those streets up. Let's replace that pipe. Let's figure it out. There are federal funds available. Surely there are. I mean, I know this goes back to elections have consequences. So look at Michigan and Flint. And Jackson is no different than Flint, Michigan. Our water is slightly better than theirs. But Flint, Michigan is a great example. And I'm going to say something about Flint, Michigan. I wish Donald Trump would have given Flint the money to fix its problem, because I think he could have done himself a lot of favors by shutting people up and fixing a Democrat screw up by taking care of it. But I also understand self-responsibility and elections having consequences. And, you know, it's not really the federal government's job to come in and fix the local government stuff up. Same thing in Jackson. while I would love, this reminds me of another story. While I would love for the federal government to come in and fix Jackson and save Jackson, at the end of the day, it ain't their job. It is Jackson's job to fix Jackson. It ain't even the state's job to fix this crap. It is the city's job. So, but that reminds me, there was a story that I skipped over early on here. Real quick. There's 2 agencies willing to add officers to help JPD fight crime, but issues stand in the way.
I'm sure they do.
Over here at WLBT.com, Quentin Smith did a good article. Jackson homicides rate steadily rising and still at 106 this year. 2 agencies are willing to deploy more officers to help reduce crime. Last week, Jackson City Council voted to bring in more federal, state, and local agencies to help resolve crime issues. The U.S. Attorney's Office and Hinds County Sheriff's Department said they're in favor of assisting JPD. Thank y'all. However, of course, the catch, there are some issues preventing the help from coming on board. U.S. Attorney Mike Hurst. Remind me to say something about Mike Hurst when I get done, Crystal. Okay. U.S. Attorney Mike Hurst said he's working to bring in federal officers, but right now it's turning into a waiting game. He's waiting to hear back from U.S. Attorney General Bill Barr, who has to give the final approval on whether the city can receive the extra help. Quote, I have recently forwarded to his office the 2 resolutions that the Jackson City Council have passed, said Hurst, U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Mississippi. I wish I could tell you exactly when this is going to happen, but what I can tell you and the citizens of Jackson, I am going to bird dog this issue with the Attorney General and stay on the office until we get an answer. So if you wonder what bird dog means, that means refer. I'm going to refer this issue. In the car business, if somebody sends us a customer, we call that a bird dog. So you got a bird dog. So with that said, it's kind of in the hands of the attorney, of the U.S. Attorney General, whether Jackson can actually get the help. The story does not specify why Hinds County cannot send in the help, but they did say it's similar to the Project Eject, a federal initiative that helps fight and reduce violent crime in capital cities. So, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Attorney General Bill Barr, I know he's busy fighting with Democrats in Washington, but please, for the love of God, send help. SOS. SOS. So, Mike Hurst. I want to say something about Mike Hurst. Nothing bad. I want to wax poetically for a second about Mike Hurst. Okay. First off, if anybody listening to this show right now knows Mike, I would love to get a sit down with Mike Hurst and just talk to him for 30 minutes, live, uninterrupted, and just ask him some questions and let him explain to y'all the stuff that y'all tell me I'm wrong about that I know I'm not. So if anybody knows Mike Hurst or has a plug with Mike Hurst, I would love the opportunity to sit down with Mike and let him kind of explain it to the common man here, what's going on in Jackson and why the federal government can't just come in and clean up our streets. Also, Mike Hurst, if it's some odd chance you're listening to this right now, would you please run for mayor of this city? I don't know if it pays more than what you're making now. I don't know if it's something you would ever be interested in doing. But I would say that is the type profile person we need. Race is irrelevant. I don't care about any of that. I'm referring to his position in law enforcement and his position on crime. That is the type person we need to run for mayor in this city. Forever I've said we need a good businessman. We needed this. We need that. I'm retracting those statements right now. We need law enforcement, somebody with a hardcore military background potentially. Jackson is beyond needing a businessman to fix it. We need 1 to 2 terms of a hardcore law enforcement background guy or girl, white or black, Indian, Iranian, I don't care, to come in and enforce the rules and tighten the screws up in the city. Mike Hurst would be an absolute home run if a city like Jackson could ever be so lucky for him to run for mayor. Now, of course, I don't imagine the same people that continuously vote Kenneth Stokes into office or voted for Chokwe Antar Lumumba. Make sure I say his full name. I know they wouldn't vote for him. Same people that when people tell me to run, we're talking about the same. I would need the people who voted for these idiots to vote for me, and I don't believe they have the capacity to do so. But it's depressing, man. When you sit here and you say it out loud like that, and you remind yourself that no matter what, these people continuously vote Kenneth Stokes into office and voted for Antar. That frankly, just saying that out loud makes me want to cancel the show. Kendrick says if you can't raise cop salaries, it would not work. Kendrick, I don't disagree with you at all, but there's got to be a way to fix that. I mean, there's got to be some federal funds out there. There's got to be something, but you know how you raise cop salaries? You attract business. You make people feel safe in the city, which will inevitably attract business to the city. I mean, and not even business. Hell, right now people don't want to come from anywhere, including within the city, to spend money in the city because they don't feel safe shopping in the city. I'm just going to tell y'all, I live in the city of Jackson. I do not grocery shop in the city of Jackson. I do not stop at a gas station in the city limits of Jackson. And I rarely eat outside of restaurants, like nice sit-down restaurants, like I ate at Martin's today, Jackson is so bad when it comes to those kind of places, especially gas stations. I mean, you're a sitting target.
You want to send your wife and children?
Think about it. I know there's some people that hear this and think, my family goes to the such and such gas station all the time and nothing ever happens. But what about when it does? It happens all the time at the gas stations in Jackson. They're hands down the most dangerous businesses per capita. Surely, I'm just guessing here. But I'd be willing to bet the more crime outside of private residence happens at gas station parking lots than any other type property in the city. Excluding abandoned hotels, because that's a damn crap show. But yeah, no doubt you have to get the cops more money, but you get the cops more money by creating a safer city and a larger tax base. We don't even need to expand our tax base right now. We just need the people that live in the city to feel safe spending money in the city.
Go to the places that are here.
They're like people like me. And y'all can say I'm a hypocrite by running a page called Save Jackson, but not shopping in Jackson. But I'm also not an idiot. I need to feel safe, and I need my family to feel safe when we shop in Jackson. And frankly, I don't feel safe in certain areas. The majority of them. I mean, I'm just being honest. I mean, would y'all rather hear a lie? So let me see here. Kendrick says, by the way, thank you for the comments, man. Kendrick says, how do you compete with Madison and Flowood for business tax breaks? Yeah. That's something that I'm not on the inside, so I don't know the conversations that are had behind closed doors between our leadership and businesses that want to come to Jackson. But I can only sit here and assume that we're not offering these businesses the tax incentives and tax breaks and infrastructure co-ops and whatnot that are happening in other areas.
Everything I've heard is anything in Jackson is just so expensive.
Yeah.
They don't understand why or what's going on. Or
I've told y'all before, when you're in business in Jackson, you are in business against Jackson. The city of Jackson treats you like an enemy when you open a business here. I've never seen nothing like it. Now, with that said, I've never owned a business in Rankin or Madison County.
Wow.
But I have had 2 inside Jackson and 3 if you count my dad's convenience store before I was old enough to say, before I was 20 years old. The city of Jackson used to enforce its code laws. They used to, if a business didn't cut its grass, they would send you a letter saying cut your grass or else. If you did not do so, they would send a crew out to do it, and they would add it to your property tax at the end of the year. The city's not doing that anymore. They say that they've got X amount of code enforcement officers when allegedly they only have like 2. And I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they call themselves doing. But I would love to see a Project Veritas come to Jackson and follow those guys around. See what they're doing. If you know a code enforcement officer, tell them to get on their job.
Yeah.
Tell them to hit me up because I'd like to know what the hell they call themselves doing. I could leave my house right now, and just between home and work, depending on which way I went, around Forest Hill Road by Forest Hill, or down Terry Road to Elton Road to the interstate, I could find 50 code violations just between here and the Metro Center that would qualify or justify somebody going out and writing a violation.
Right.
But do you know the kind of stuff they enforce? They passed this stupid rule about businesses having to build fences around dumpsters a few years ago. They'll enforce that. If you have a car parked in your yard, they passed a violation for that. Now, I could ride down Forest Hill Road here, and I record my ride every morning. I record every mile I'm on the road. It's recording because I got tired of seeing crazy crap happen in front of me and not having proof. Right. Now, of course, since I got a camera, I've seen nothing happen in front of me. Knock on wood. But you can ride down Forest Hill Road here from Terry Road heading, I guess that would be north, towards Forest Hill High School, and probably see 100 cars in yards on Forest Hill Road alone. Burned out houses, all kinds of stuff. Who's enforcing these violations? Or maybe they've given the people the violations and the people just said, screw you, we don't care, we're not going to change anything. I guess there is that potential. I just feel like I doubt that's what's happened because the city should send out tow trucks, drag it out of the yard.
So
many. Where do you start?
There's so many.
And I get on that rant about code violations, and it knocks me off whatever I'm talking about all the time because it's so overwhelming, and I hate it for business owners, like good business owners, like our guys at USA Pawn. That invest millions into a massive building right there at McDowell Road. And then they've got that crack shack hotel right next door to them that's half burned down, half there. The Jackson Square Shopping Center. But you have this beautiful building there and it doesn't affect what they do. I mean, but it doesn't help it none either. And the city doesn't enforce anything. Yeah, which it's private property. There are some catches there with tearing stuff down. And I get all that too, because you just don't want a city coming on and deciding that your property needs to be torn down. You have to go look on the tax roll, see who owns it. That's my way of saying I don't know. But
the point is, if they can't keep it up, it don't need to be there.
I mean, I go through this all the time. These are the things that are right on the damn interstates. It's all people see when they come through Jackson. Can you tell me one nice stretch of Jackson that you can see from the interstate other than that stretch of what we would call Eastover through Lakeland Drive there?
I don't even know about there.
You know where LaFleur's Bluff is and St. Dominic's? Yep.
No.
So other than that little stretch right there, basically from where Waterworks straightens out up to about Northside Drive. You know, that's nice. That is comparable to, I don't know what it's comparable to, but it's nice. I'm not embarrassed by any of that. All right. Is there another exit along or stretch of interstate along 55 where you want to use as like the marquee for people riding through the city? It ain't I-20 from, say, 220 or 18 to the Pearl River. Because you got Ellis Avenue there. You've got the hellholes at Gallatin Street. The only thing that looks nice at Gallatin Street is the Canon Motors, the Nissan store.
Right.
And that's it. That's the only thing that looks nice there. Then you got the Pearl River and the Stack. Right. So the next thing up is in Pearl. When you have the outlet malls and all that, and that looks great. That's respectable. Okay, if you're coming up from the south, if you're coming up, you know, from New Orleans, Terry, Byram, whatever, into the city, you hit Elton Road there. Elton Road itself is not too bad. You've got the Camping World. It looks nice. I don't know where the big American flag went, but it's a new business.
It's still there. I saw it today.
Is it there? Okay, the American flag is back. But you have a junkyard, and it's got a fence, but because the interstate sits up, you see the junkyard, the pull apart. Then it's got that abandoned trailer park next door to it. Then you've got Savannah Street, and it just digresses from there. You get to Savannah.
Well, and just all the stores or gas stations / stores look so shady.
Oh yeah. All the gas stations at the exit in Jackson are going to hell.
Yeah, I mean you don't stop there.
You can buy meth pipes at every gas station along the interstate in Jackson. So I say all that to just say that there's not a single interstate exit in Jackson that has a gas station that you feel safe stopping at. The Lakeland Drive exit where St. Dominic's and Smithville's and all are don't have a gas station. You have to go down the road a bit to get to that first gas station. If you're going towards Flowood, there's that shell right there past the ballpark on the right. That one's all right. You know, I would say I feel safe stopping at that gas station. But
I do go to Bowles sometimes for gas.
In Byram?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not in Jackson.
No, I know. I'm just saying I either go to Bowles or go to Brandon.
Yeah.
I do one or the other.
Yeah. I mean, I'm saying I get I get my gas from Clinton Walmart. You know, every Friday I fill up. You know, if I need to fill up again before then, I go there while I'm at work. You know, Jackson just has nowhere, and people can say whatever. Oh man, you're just a punk. You scared to stop at gas stations. I'm just not gonna put myself in a compromised position and get gas. You know,
leave my child in the car.
Well, that, you know, and it ain't me. I'm worried about getting shot. I don't want to have to shoot anybody. You know, then you know, in Jackson, you shoot criminals. You're the criminal. You know, this is something else I've talked about. But Danny says the smell of Byram comes from Byram. I must have missed a comment there. Yeah, Byram stinks.
It's strong every morning.
So I guess somebody suggested High Street. I wouldn't stop at High Street. Those two gas stations on High Streets have more bums than any two gas stations in the city. That especially is it the Exxon or Texaco? The one on the same side of the road as Whataburger. I quit going there 10 years ago. Speaking of bums, I know that word offends some people, but I don't know what that car is on TV, but I want that. Oh, it's a new Hummer. That looks good. Anyway, me and my buddy Marvell went and ate lunch at Martin's today. And we're walking in, and this guy walks up to us, and he's giving us the old "I'm out of gas" spill. but he had on more gold and everything than anybody that should ever be out of gas should have on. This is no knock on that area, but it just got me to thinking about something. He was asking for 90 cents, some weird abstract number, 90 cents.
Like $1.
Not $1, but 90 cents. He's like, man, do you have like 90 cents? You know, maybe he already had 10 cents and he just needed wanted to round it up to $1. But I was like, man, I don't. He needed gas. He said. I was like, man, I don't have any cash on me. I mean, I had a 20, but I wasn't giving dude a 20. You know, I guess I should ask him if he had change for a 20 and catch him in a lie. But it got me to thinking, what are people going to do like that? You know, panhandlers. I don't even want to call him a bum. A panhandler. This guy looked like a professional panhandler, not a homeless dude. And, you know, as we transition to a cashless society, as they predicted was one of the signs of the end of the world, what are panhandlers going to do? They're going to get a cube on their cell phone a square where you can just
swipe it.
Yeah, you can swipe them money. So then we're supposed to be like, well, you know, I mean, anybody can get a cell phone. The homeless guy's got an iPhone with a square, you know. Or would that be like the next Obama phone? You know? I don't know. Well, look, we've rock and rolled with y'all tonight. An hour and 20 some odd minutes. Time flies when you're having fun. I knew tonight was going to be a good show. At least I think it was a good show. I really enjoyed everybody. Thank you to Crystal for sitting down and hanging out with me again. The show is a million times easier to do when Crystal is involved. So thank you again, my love. I see. I want to read a few of these last comments real quick. Kendrick says they could use the Cash App. I know I was thinking about that out loud, but then they would have to say that they had a cell phone and access to a Cash App to do that.
To do all of it.
You know, and I just feel like, man, if you got a cell phone, you know, you got that somehow or the other. Let me see. Tanya says, do the makeup test or battery test if Crystal isn't with you. Danny, yeah, they will do that. He could have gone to USA Palm with that gold if it was real and got some gas money. Just saying. Kevin, yeah. You know, Kevin, I thought about that. I really did. And I was like, bro, you got all that gold, man. I mean, go pawn it. You know, get you where you're going, get yourself out of a pinch. I just don't know if I'm rolling up on folks wearing a bunch of gold, real or otherwise, and have the audacity to ask for money. I mean, that takes some nuts. I don't know if that's supposed to make it more believable or what. You know, like you're really out of gas. I mean, look at me. Do I look like somebody that would be bumming money? You know, and I've actually said that before because back in the day, I got myself caught in a situation where I was out of gas and I didn't have any cash. And it was actually at the Sam's Club. But I was in the club business. I would go to Sam's in Jackson all the time. And I would buy a gas card from there. And if you get gas at Sam's, you know that you have to have your membership card to activate the gas pumps. Well, I just took a paper check with me because I didn't have any cash. And I went in Sam's and I didn't have my membership card. So they couldn't make me a new one. They had to write me a paper one. Well, I'm out there stuck at the damn gas pumps and I'm like basically begging people to please swipe their membership card so I could swipe my debit card behind it so I could get gas. And, man, I had like 3 or 4 people tell me no, to leave them alone like I was a bum. It was the most embarrassing thing ever. Finally, I got somebody to swipe their membership card so I could swipe my debit card to activate the gas pumps. Very embarrassing moment because you couldn't pay cash. You couldn't do anything. You had to use at Sam's. They don't have an attendant. You have to use your membership card to activate the gas pumps. So that was humbling. Tanya's asking, does Crystal know the makeup test? I don't know. Crystal has left the facilities. She has left the USA Palm studio. Danny says the shot callers, they call it you being here tax. That's the guys with all the gold. It's called street tax. Tanya says, rub the jewelry on the makeup and it will make a black mark if it's real. Oh, yeah. Okay, now, Tanya, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's a good... I should have done that. Okay, Crystal, do you know the makeup test for jewelry, for gold?
Makeup test?
Yeah, so Tanya's saying you can rub the jewelry on makeup and it will make a black mark if it's real. So if you got some gold or diamonds or whatever, you can rub it on your makeup. And if it leaves a black mark, it's real. I've actually heard that over the years. I wanted to get with Nick from USA Pawn. Ask him. He's a very, very fun dude. We need to get Nick on the show. And we had him when me and Napoleon were doing it on Sundays. Had him on there, and that was a fun show. And I'm just super intelligent dude. And I believe a long form Nick interview would be great for the show. Need to get Danny White on here. Danny is full of good stories. He's always telling them on social media. The time that I talked to Danny on the phone, and Danny is with father and son, Southern Lawncare. Get Danny on here because he is a lifelong Jacksonian. He has been involved in more crazy stuff like me. You know, that we need to get Danny over one night here soon. And get these guys on here and let them talk to y'all. One last thing. Thursday night, Benny Ivy with Strong Arms of Jackson will be back over here riding shotgun with me and talking about all the stuff we didn't get to talk about last time because we ran out of time. Really, really excited about that. And I've got some other stuff I'm working on, so we will get that rolling. Again, check out usapawn.com, the gym at Byram.com, and father and son Southern Lawncare. I tagged them all here in the descriptions. They are all locally owned, locally operated. So when you spend the money, not only does it go to Mississippians, it stays here locally in Hinds and Rankin County, in Madison County. If you're interested in sponsoring this show, I do not recruit sponsors, but I am accepting sponsors. Give me a shout. You can reach me on my DMs here, or you can email me savejackson, that's JXN, at gmail.com. And we will discuss what we can offer you. We've got a very dedicated following. 23,000 followers on Facebook. Growing about, at this clip right now, we're growing over 500 followers a week. Yep. Instagram is at over 16,000 followers. And YouTube is over 1,200. And that is a lot for YouTube, and it's growing steadily. So keep us in mind. We would love to help your local business out. We're very affordable, and we believe we bring a lot to the table. And we do not accept everybody as an advertiser. You've got to fit our morals and values, and you got to fit in with what we do. I have turned people down, not because I didn't like them. I just didn't think their brand worked with what we do. So if you're interested and you've got something you think works with this platform, let us know, and we would love to talk to you. Until then, we will not be doing a show tomorrow night. We will be recording the podcast tomorrow night, and we will be back live Thursday night. So until then, love y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in, and save Jackson.